BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega cash and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here.
Trying to get it in. Dustin Smith. Jabari for three and the win. Yeah! He got it!
We are here to Fuel Rockets News. This is the Rockets Fuel podcast presented by Believe Network and sponsored by Bet Online. And on today's show, I want to give a quick recap of the Rockets' 118-98 win over the New Orleans Pelicans in preseason game number 3 as they get ready for the regular season next week. They got one more game coming up on Thursday, but they were able to come away with a victory last night to go to 2-1 on the preseason. And I want to give a quick recap and also give 3 things that stood out to me from last night's game, the good and the bad from last night's game. And number one, I wanted to start with Fred VanVleet. Now, of course, a lot of times Fred VanVleet, he doesn't get a lot of publicity because he's not a flashy player. He's not the type of player who's going to go out there and dunk on anybody or cross anybody over. And last night, he only shot 1 for 7 from the field, so I'm sure you're wondering why I'm talking about Fred VanVleet. But the thing about VanVleet is he's always the common presence on the court. Last game the Rockets had before this one against Oklahoma City, you saw at the beginning of the game, they really struggled to get into their offense. They struggled to get any type of offensive stats going. They turned the ball over a lot. Last night was actually the first game where they actually had under 20 turnovers for the preseason, and a lot of that was because of Fred VanVleet. Even though he was 1 of 7 from the field, he did finished with 9 assists, and like a lot of time last season, had a really low turnover count. He only had 1 turnover tonight. Last season, the Rockets set a record, a franchise record. And remember, the Rockets been in franchise since the 60s. Set a franchise record for lowest turnovers per game, and Fred VanVleet was the biggest reason for that. So that's one of the reasons why, to me, he was one of these standouts, and one of the things that kind of stood out to me watching the game from press row was the fact that the Rockets seemed a lot more calm, seemed to get in the offense set a lot quicker yesterday. A lot less confusion on that side of the court. And Fred was asked about that after the game. He was asked, does he notice, of course, when he's on the court and off the court and how the Rockets play? And this is what he said.
On and off the court, so we have a different kind of play style when I'm out there and when I'm not, and that's a pretty damn good team too, so I don't want to, grade it on that. OKC was #1 in the West last year for a reason, so it was just one of those nights, but I thought we got back to a little bit better kind of what we do tonight, so that was good.
And as you see there, Fred's talking about, his presence on the court, the impact that he makes when he's on and off the court. And like I said, you definitely saw that last night. And again, like you said, Oklahoma City is a pretty good team. They're going to cause problems for anybody, but you can still just watching the Rockets, you could just tell like sometimes they didn't necessarily know what they wanted to run when it got on the offensive end. And that's the thing about, Fred VanVleet is he kind of just calms down everything, and he kind of just gets everybody on the same page. And that's something that definitely stood out to me last night. I mean, again, 9 assists, 1 turnover. A lot of times last season, he would have double-digit assists and 0 turnovers. I mean, that's huge, especially for a Rockets team that the prior 3 seasons was one of the worst, if not the worst, turnover-prone teams in the league, which also causes you issue on defense because you're giving up a lot of fast breaks. So having Fred VanVleet on the team and having somebody that can make an impact even when they're not scoring is a big deal. Because like he also said in the rest of that press conference, which you can see up on our YouTube page, the Rockfield YouTube page, he also said that, I have 4 other scorers with me in the starting line, so I don't necessarily need to score. I need to be the kind of facilitator to get everybody going. So we saw a lot of that last night. We're going to see a lot of that again this season. Kind of speaking of people that make an impact without scoring, the number 2 thing that stood out to me last night was Steven Adams rebounding and just overall game. Steven Adams led all players in rebounds last night with 11, 3 offensive rebounds. And the funny thing about it, he only played 15 minutes. Now, most players, especially the starters on each team, only play around 20, 22 minutes. But they'd be able to get 11 rebounds in 15 minutes, lead everybody in that category says a lot about Steven Adams. And not just his rebounding, but also just watching him from press row, the way he kind of orchestrates the offense from the high post. I mean, he's only been here playing games for the Rockets for only a few games, and he already seems really comfortable. He always makes the right plays, always makes the right reads. Even when he's not getting a rebound, he's making it a lot easier for his teammates to get rebounds, because a lot of times teams don't have to put 2 or 3 people on him to keep him off the boards, which opens up for people like Jabari Smith and even Dylan Brooks at times, or whoever's on the court with him, to be able to get in there and get rebounds himself. And that's something that Ime talked about. I asked him about the impact of Steven Adams, and this is what he said.
11 and 15 minutes and 3 offensive, and probably got other guys a lot of rebounds as well with all the bodies that they try to keep him off the glass. But that's who he's been throughout his career, and we know once he gets his legs back under him and he play longer stints in those 5 minutes, those numbers will continue to go up. But super valuable with the extra positions he gets you, the screening, and all the little things that they don't show on the stat sheet. So very pleased with him, and just got to wrap him up in the right way and get his legs back under him.
And as you see there, another interesting thing about that was him, Ime talking about ramping him up. So like I say, he played 15 minutes last night. He's been on a minute restriction, this preseason, but have to imagine when he gets his basketball legs back under him, he's going to probably be playing close to 20, 25 minutes a game, maybe sometime even more, depending on like if Alperen's in foul trouble or misses a game or two. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Steven Adams playing sometime close to 30 minutes. But of course, that's going to take a while because he didn't play, all last season. He's coming off that major injury. He is in his 30s, so they definitely want to take it easy when it comes to bringing Steven Adams along as far as his minutes. But as you see, I mean, every time that Ime talks about or Rafael talks, anybody talks about Steven Adams, there's always nothing but praise, because every team he's been on, from Oklahoma City to Memphis, every player talks about how great it is to play with somebody like Steven Adams. And just a few times I've been able to talk to him, you can definitely see how he's going to be a standout on any team he's going to be on, because he's always telling you the truth. And he always does it with a smile on his face. So he's definitely a player that Rockets, there's a reason why they went out and got him during the trade deadline. I know some people are like, why are you bringing him in? He can't even play. It's for this reason. It's for this season, and you're going to start really seeing that impact as we get into the regular season. And he starts to play, closer to his normal minutes of 20, 25 minutes a game. So his impact is already being felt on the team. And like I said, the Rockets definitely made the right decision in trading for him, even though he couldn't play at all last season. And the last thing that stood out to me, unfortunately, is a kind of a negative, is the Rockets free throw shooting. They were 14 of 27 last night. They're shooting under 70% so far in 3 games during the preseason. Yes, it's a small sample size, so you don't want to go too overboard with it, but it is something that Ime mentioned during the post game is, it was maybe just been one of those games, but we are going to be shooting 100 plus free throws during practice. So it's definitely something he's aware of. The Rockets did improve from previous season last year. They shot 77% from the free throw line last season, which wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. It was around the league average. They finished around 20th in free throw shooting percentage last season. The one positive about the free throws is right now they rank in the top 5 in free throw attempts. Last season they ranked in the top 5 free throw attempts. But that's something they're definitely going to have to clean up. And it's kind of ironic because Alperen Sengun is shooting the best free throw percentage of his life from the free throw line. Coming into last night's game, he was 15 to 16 from the free throw line. Made a couple more last night. So he's actually been probably one of, if not the best free throw shooters in the entire league this season, which is kind of funny considering now that the rest of the Rockets kind of struggled. Like I said, they were on 50% from the free throw line for most of the game until Eric Holiday made a couple towards the end of the game. So they only shot 52% last night. It's something they definitely going to have to clean up, especially if they're going to be taking that many free throws. Being in top 5 again in free throw attempts, that's definitely something they're going to have to clean up, because at the end of the day, a lot of these close games come down to being able to make your free throws, because we all know, especially if the Rockets eventually do get to the playoffs, you definitely have to make your free throws, because pretty much majority of games are going to be really close. But before we even get to that, you have 82 games you got to get through, and you're going to have to be able to be a better than 70% free throw shooting team, because We all know, like I said, a lot of these games come down to 1 or 2 points. So that's something just kind of keep your eye on as we go through, the last preseason game into the regular season that starts next Wednesday, as the Rockets, for the first time in several years, are actually starting their regular season at home, and they'll be playing the Charlotte Hornets. I want you to let me know down in the comments kind of what you thought of last night's game, what you thought of this whole preseason as a whole. Like I said, you can't always get a lot from preseason games because there's a lot of mixed match lineups. MA did mention when I asked him about that previously, would they be playing more of the regular rotation? They did last night. We saw a little bit some different combinations, like Jabari at small forward with Jeff Green and Alperen in the front court, but they did play more with a little bit of a regular rotation. But he did say that the minutes would still be restricted, of course, because it's preseason. And Tari Eason and Jock Landale didn't play last night, even though I don't know how much Jock is really going to play with Steven Adams on the team now, but we definitely will see probably Tari Eason playing tomorrow or Thursday's game, preseason finale against San Antonio, where they're probably going to be resting a lot of these stars. I heard that Wemby's probably not even playing tomorrow, so kind of take that last game with a grain of salt. But definitely let me know down in the comments, what do you think of this preseason so far? How excited are you for the upcoming season? Definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're getting closer to 3,000 subscribers, so we definitely appreciate everybody that's already subscribing. Anybody that's new to the channel, definitely welcome to the channel. With this channel, I want to be able to bring you more than just podcasts or more than just highlights. I want to bring you everything that you need, from highlights to podcasts to long video blogs, player profiles. I want to bring you all type of different things to this channel. And of course, pre and post game for every game that I go out to. So definitely make sure, if you're not subscribed to the channel. We appreciate support. Make sure you like it so that YouTube algorithm can get this video and get this channel out to more people. And like I said, we appreciate support. And make sure you check out the next episode of the Rocket Fuel Podcast.